Hey there, before this episode gets started, I would like to acknowledge the fact that I sound like I'm in a wind tunnel the entire time. So I recorded this after installing a brand new webcam for upcoming streams, not knowing that the webcam had a built-in mic and that my system defaulted to that mic. So instead of recording from the microphone that was in front of my face, it instead decided to record from the microphone about a foot away from me. So that's why I sound like I am in a wind tunnel throughout the entire episode. I apologize for that. I hope you still enjoy it. A lot of good stuff here. And talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye. Welcome to episode number 75 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. This is esports and gaming insider Jason Finelli saying hello to you after a lovely Thanksgiving weekend. I hope you all had a very fantastic holiday filled with great food and great friends and great family. Hope you got to do some cool things, or on the flip side, if you didn't want to do cool things, I hope you got to sit in and enjoy the turkey coma that all of us tend to have in this holiday. The gaming industry has not stopped for the holiday. Fortunately, there are plenty of things to talk about today in the world of esports and video games, so let's get right to the 6 in 60 seconds. Former NFL safety from New Orleans and Tennessee, Kenny Vaccaro, has announced he's starting a new esports organization named G1, also known as Gamers First, to compete in Halo. Complexity Gaming has launched Complexity Stars, a new division featuring pro athletes like J.R. Smith, Leonard Fournette, and more. Riot Games has announced that the League of Legends 2021 All-Star event has been officially canceled, foregoing an all-online event a la last season. Meanwhile, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has teased his role as the character called the Foundation in Fortnite days before Chapter 2's final event begins. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's version 13.0.1 patch will be the final fighter balance adjustment patch in the game, though other updates may occur in the future. And finally, the Game Awards has announced musical performances by Sting and Imagine Dragons will happen at this year's show. Simu Liu from Shang-Chi will also present an award. And included as one of the official TGA co-streamers is JFan64. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. Yep, there they are. That is your headlines for the week. Pretty weird to hear that name, JFan64. He sounds so familiar. Maybe you should watch his official co-stream during the Game Awards next week. And The Rock, he's not fooling anyone anymore. We thought he might have been the Foundation back in Chapter 2, Season 6 of Fortnite, but now that the Chapter 2 finale is happening tomorrow, if you're listening to this when it first dropped, or today, if you're listening to this on the radio. In fact, this episode will hit the radio at 4 o'clock, right when that event is beginning. So if you're a Fortnite fan and you're listening to this, you are knee-deep in the end, and I hope it's everything that you want it to be. But kicking off tonight's show, we're going to talk about two major fighting esports events that are happening right now in two very different parts of the world. The first one is right here in America, down in Orlando, Florida, CEO 2021. Now, CEO stands for Community Effort Orlando. It is what will probably end up being the biggest fighting game event of the year. There have been other fighting game events throughout the country, but this one is probably going to be on the level of fighting game tournaments past. It is in person down there in, I believe, in Orlando, Florida. It might be in Daytona, even though it's called Community Effort Orlando. I believe they may be in Daytona. I could be wrong about that. But they have 10 different games slated across 6 different streaming channels with multiple partners involved in this event. So if you have been pining for a fighting game tournament to come back in a big time scale, this is the one. Now, in previous years, this tournament has actually partnered with All Elite Wrestling. First, when it was first beginning, they would hold their top eights on Sunday inside an All Elite Wrestling ring, give the players involved their own entrances down the ramp. It's actually very cool and one of the best tournaments for theatrics that there is. I expect that something like that will happen again this Sunday, the 5th, but don't hold me to that. We'll see what happens when the tournament goes down. So like I said, there are 10 different games across 6 different streaming channels, so there will be plenty of opportunities to watch all of the fighting game action this weekend. Now, some of the games will not have some of their rounds streamed. Some of the pools that are happening with mini tournaments that, it's one big bracket, but they get to the final 96 by chewing up all these other brackets. So not all of the pools will be aired. For example, Tekken 7's Friday night and Saturday morning pools won't be on any streams. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus pools on Saturday morning will not be shown, so on and so forth. But eventually, all 10 games involved in this tournament series, in this event, will see the light of day on one of these 6 streaming channels. So just to go through the schedule here, when the doors open on Friday at noon, so if you're listening to this at 9 a.m., right when it drops, you have 3 hours to do what you got to do if you want to get ready for some fighting game action. The official CEO Gaming channel will have Guilty Gear Strive, the top fighting game at the moment. VG Boot Camp will have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That makes sense because it's a channel that specializes in Super Smash Bros. Twitch.tv/Tampan Never Sleeps. He will have Dragon Ball Fighter Z. So if you're into Dragon Ball Fighter Z, that's where you should go. Data FGC will have Tekken 7 pools going to start. Polarity GG will have Street Fighter 5. And Juicy Game Night, which is just a fantastic Twitter name, will have Mortal Kombat 11. So that's 6 different fighting games to choose from right when things kick off at noon. There are some schedule changes that will happen, but those are the 6 channels that you can watch these fighting games on. I will post this picture on the tweet with the episode, so if you're listening to this and you're like, what the heck did he just say? The entire schedule will be posted in the tweet so you can see what goes off when. As far as the top 8s, the finals of each of these tournaments, it looks like some of them will run concurrently. Based on the schedule I'm seeing right now, the Blaze Blue Cross Tag, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Street Fighter 5 top 8s will run along one another on Tampan Never Sleeps, VG Boot Camp, and CEO Gaming, respectively. But the entire schedule is up online. The CEO of CEO, Alex Jabali, had tweeted it out. So again, I will share that when this episode goes live. And I highly recommend it. Like I've maintained many times that fighting games could be the future of all esports if given the chance. I feel like they are the easiest to digest by a casual fan. I feel like they give the most information to a casual fan without confusing them. Everything is clearly laid out on the screen. That's not to say that games like League of Legends and Overwatch and Call of Duty don't give information to their viewers. They absolutely do. But unless you know what you're looking for, a lot of it is just gibberish on a screen. If you're not a League of Legends fan, and you look at a League of Legends Worlds 2021 video on demand, you're going to wonder what all those pretty symbols are on the bottom. So I feel like fighting games are the most easily translated if you're trying to explain how esports works to someone in your family. And this would be a perfect event, the CEO Fighting Game Championships, to get that conversation going. I really do think this will be the big return for the FGC in general, the greater FGC, I should say, when all is said and done. Obviously, the Philly FGC is high and mighty, running strong thanks to Big E Gaming. But as far as the national stage, I think CEO is going to be the one to bring everything back. But that is not the only big-time esports event going on right now. We are also in the inaugural, the first ever of the game's life cycle, Valorant Champions. Valorant World Championships happening right now in Berlin. Believe it or not, Berlin, which hosted the Stage 3 Masters, the final qualifying tournament for the Valorant Champions 2021. Berlin is also serving as the host of the big one, which is happening, like I said, right now as we speak over there in Berlin. Started on December the 1st, so earlier this week. The finals are currently slated for December the 12th, so that is a week from Sunday. So that's a week and a half, 10 days of full Valorant action. This is another game that's fun to watch and slightly easier to follow than other shooters because it's start, stop, start, stop. There are a lot of powers to learn and special abilities that the characters can do that may confuse some folks, but otherwise, this is another great esport to check out. 16 teams from across the world are there, 3 from North America in Cloud9 Blue, Team Envy, and Sentinels. I do know that as of this taping, we have seen 8 matches so far, 12 matches, all of Group D, all of Group C, and all of Group B, the first matches in each group. And the way the format works is 2 teams play against each other. The first ranked team versus the 4th ranked team in each group, and then the 2nd ranked team versus the 3rd ranked team. The winners face each other, the losers face each other, and then there's a decider match to decide who will be the number 1 seed from each group and the number 2 seed from each group. The loser of the winners match and the winner of the elimination match play each other in the decider to see who will join the winner of the winners match. I have that format. The format is still coming to me a little bit. It's basically 4 mini 4-team brackets with the consolation match or the winner of the elimination match versus the loser of the winners match vying for the 2nd seed. So, for example, in Group D, Vision Strikers defeated Full Sense, and then Fnatic defeated Cloud9 Blue. Vision Strikers will now play Fnatic. The winner will move on to the final 8. The loser will go to the decider match against the winner of Full Sense and Cloud9B, who lost their first 2 matches. That is a mouthful, but it does make sense when you see it laid out, when you see a bracket laid out for each of these groups. Obviously, you're rooting for the North American teams, and I did say that Cloud9B has already lost their first match. However, Sentinels, also from the North American side, won theirs in a tight match, beating Fury Esports by a grand total of 36-31. It was 2 maps to 1, a map differential of +5, so good stuff there. Hoping that Sentinels can take out the very tough Team Liquid and make it to the final 8. Same with Cloud9 Blue. They'll have 2 tough matches ahead of them between Full Sense and whoever loses between Vision Strikers and Fnatic. Vision Strikers beat the crap out of Full Sense, beating them 26-10 across 2 different matches, while Cloud9 Blue lost to Fnatic. So either way, they're going to have, if they make it to that decider match, they're going to have their work cut out for them, and I hope they can get through. In Group C, we had Gambit Esports, who many feel are the favorite in this tournament, taking out Team Secret 32-19, 2 maps to nothing. And then Team Vikings beating Crazy Raccoon, another great name, 26-17, also, I believe, a 2-0 slate. So there, Team Vikings will play Gambit. Winner moves on, loser goes to the decider. Elimination match, Crazy Raccoons versus Team Secret. Winner goes to the decider, loser goes home. Group B, as I said, Sentinels beat Furia, Team Liquid beat KRU Esports. So Sentinels versus Team Liquid for the winner's side. Elimination match, Furia versus KRU. And then the loser of the winners and the winner of the elimination will fight for that second slot. And finally, Group A, which is the only group that is not gone yet. You have Ascend, Keyed Stars, North American Team, and Team Envy, and X10 Crit. So a lot of Valorant to be played before we get to that final 8, and a lot of more Valorant to be played until we get to our final 2 on December the 12th. So if you prefer some normal, structured, shooter-based esports, you have your Valorant. If you prefer fighting games, you have CEO. If you want something new, there's also Halo Championship League online qualifiers at the YouTube channel Halo Esports that you can check out. There are plenty of things to watch despite it being the end of the year. Esports never sleeps. December is normally a very busy time, so this is no exception. And make sure that you enjoy all of the competitive gaming coming your way this weekend. All right, moving on now to topic number 2 of the evening. Let's talk the Game Awards. Last time, on episode number 74, we talked about the games that were nominated for the awards and who I think will win each of the awards. A new award has since been added called the Player's Choice, which is a tournament-based system where 30 games enter. Everybody votes for their favorite 10. That list then gets cut down, I believe, to 15, and everyone votes for 5. Then it gets cut down to 5, and everyone votes for 1. I'm not exactly sure how the cuts work, but it's basically the only award at the show completely chosen by the fans themselves. So you can vote for the first round of that on the website right now. But we're not talking about the awards this evening. I want to get into what might be announced at this show this year. The kind of world premieres that make people watch over and over again just to see what the hot new games are coming in the future. This year, Game Award, Jeff Keighley, in an interview with Epic Games, believe it or not, Epic Games did a blog post about the Game Awards this year, and he has mentioned that there will be up to between 40 and 50 announcements with brand new game announcements in the double digits. So we're looking at least 10 brand new, never before heard of games at this show, along with the 40 to 50 reveals that he is included in the 40 to 50 reveals that he is teasing. Now, if we look at last year's show, there were 6 reveals in the pre-show and 32 in the main show. That's 38 reveals between the half an hour pre-show and the main show. And he's saying that now there will be more than that, potentially more than 10 more, which is that's pretty crazy. That's a lot of stuff that could be announced in this show. But I don't think I'm going to try and predict all 40 to 50 of them, because that is crazy. I am going to throw out maybe 5 or 6 predictions of games that I think might be featured at the show this year. Whether they are games we haven't heard of in a while, games that I know that are in development. There are just a couple of things that I think could happen at this show. So if you will oblige me, based on Game Awards last year and based on Gamescom Opening Night Live this year, let's take a look at some things that may be teased for the show this year. Now, we cannot mention Lord of the Rings Gollum from Nacon and Daedalic Entertainment because that was revealed to be coming to the show earlier Thursday morning. So for me to say that I'm guessing Lord of the Rings Gollum would be cheating, and I'm not about to do that. So this list will be safe. This will be a safe list of predictions, and I'll probably make more between now and next week's show. In fact, if next week's show goes up early because of the Game Awards, I may throw a couple more predictions in there. But I did want to get a couple out there right now just to talk about them and have them on your radar, so that way you're not surprised by them when they happen. The first one, I think, is a big possibility. and I was talking about this with some friends via text message not too long ago, would be an update to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, the .emu side-scrolling beat-em-up arcade-style TMNT game coming out next year. Recently announced April O'Neil will be a playable character. I just have a feeling that even though it showed with Jeff Keighley at Opening Night Live in 2021 earlier this year, I do think it will make a appearance again at the Game Awards 2021. I don't know if it'll be a new character. I don't know if it'll be showing off some boss fights. I don't know if it'll be a release window, something like that. I don't know. But I do think that we're going to get something like that this year. I don't know if it'll be like middle of the show, maybe. I don't know if it'll be first or anything like that, but I do think we get it. I do think, in fact, what's going to be first, if I had to pick something, it would be either one of the PlayStation exclusives, like a God of War Ragnarok or a Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Forbidden Wests, or it would be something like a brand new PlayStation exclusive, maybe whatever Jade Raymond is working on or something like that. I do know that based on the last 2 years, Mr. Keighley likes to front load his shows, put one of the biggest announcements of the night, if not the biggest announcement of the night, in front of the show. Right as the main show starts, he puts the big announcement there. I believe first time he did that was in 2010 or 2011, way back when the Arkham City was announced for the first time. And the last 2 years, 2019's first announcement was the reveal of the Xbox Series X. That was a big deal. And then last year's first world premiere was Sephiroth in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which was also a big deal. So expect him to come, breaking down the doors right out of the gate with something crazy. Could be a God of War gameplay trailer. That would be awesome. Could be a Horizon Forbidden West trailer. We haven't really seen one since that State of Play, so we're kind of due in that realm. Or something that I'm never going to be able to guess, no matter how hard I try. If he really wanted to set the internet on fire, he'd give us Marvel vs. Capcom 4. I mean, maybe not the entire internet. It would be my internet that would be set on fire, and I would be setting the fire by the sheer volume of my voice. But that being said, that would qualify as one of those holy moly. This is a huge thing to start this show. Marvel vs. Capcom 4. I don't know that that's going to happen. I would love it to happen, but I'm not confident. It's just something that I'm going to say that I'm going to predict for everything from here on out until I see it. A new Marvel vs. Capcom, preferably Marvel vs. Capcom 4. As for other things coming this show, I'm wondering if we'll see more of the new Mass Effect, which ended last year's show. We haven't seen anything from that other than that initial teaser trailer and one picture that was brought up on November 7th, or N7 Day, the day that celebrates Mass Effect. I don't expect anything from that because when they put out that picture, they said, this is pretty far away, but we can give you this just to give you an idea of what we're thinking about. And people, bid on that for a long, long time. So Mass Effect might not be the one I would expect, or I would assume would be there. I'd love it to be there, but I don't think the new Mass Effect's going to happen. However, I do think that EA might give us the new Dragon Age, as that was first teased, 2018, 2019. We're probably getting close to when this game is going to see the light of day. So I would imagine that this would be a perfect platform for something like that to appear. So let's see if the Dragon Age fans who have waited for so long finally get some sort of thing, something from EA at the Game Awards this year. Another one that's interesting is something that actually came out this week. A Redditor, a intrepid Redditor, was parading around the back end of PlayStation Network somehow, like the images that they load for the store and stuff like that. And he found something called The Matrix Awakens, an Unreal Engine 5 experience, which means that there's some sort of interactive thing involving the Matrix that's being developed on Epic's brand new engine and may be coming to the PlayStation Network soon. This to me tells me that the Matrix franchise in general may have some sort of big presence at the Game Awards. Now, whether that is just this experience or it's something else, I don't know. It could be both if the other announcement coupled with it is small enough. And I actually think that's what's going to happen. I think that much like how last year at the Game Awards we got things like Master Chief in Fortnite and things like that, I think we're going to get Neo in the Matrix, Neo from the Matrix in Fortnite to celebrate the next season of, I'm sorry, not the next season, the next movie in the Matrix franchise and the next chapter of Fortnite, which will begin a day or two before the Game Awards kicks off. Like I said earlier, the final event is happening this Saturday, and then the game's going to go dormant for a couple of days and come back, I believe, Tuesday morning with Chapter 3. It's Chapter 3, Season 1. So having some sort of Fortnite-involved announcement just after the start of the new season makes perfect sense. Matrix would also make perfect sense. Neo would fit right in, I think, to a Fortnite game. I mean, who wouldn't at this rate? Everybody should be in Fortnite. I should be in Fortnite at this rate. But I do think that that's going to happen. I think Neo in Fortnite is probably a big possibility. Plus this Matrix Within, if it's not unveiled beforehand. So I also think that we're going to see a couple of games that did show up at last year's show. The Callisto Protocol, the horror game from Striking Distance, apparently set in the PUBG universe by the creative director of Dead Space. I think that's one we can expect. I think we'll get more of Evil Dead the game. This seems to be the kind of event that game shows up at. We may even see that Returnal DLC that was teased recently. Seems that Housemarque is working on more Returnal content. As Returnal had a trailer at last year's Game Awards, would make sense that the DLC would have one at this year's Game Awards. So Returnal is another one that I expect to see at this year's show. And after that, it's pretty open. Like, I don't really have a ton of major predictions to make here. I don't really have like a list of these games are definitely coming out, and like one of those Charlie Day, Pepe Sylvia charts where he's the whole meme. I don't have a lot like that. I have a couple of ideas of what I think is going to happen, and games that I would love to see. Pipe dream games I would love to see include Marvel vs. Capcom, whether it's a collection or 4, as I talked about just a little while ago. I would also love to see Final Fantasy Remake Part 2, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. However, Final Fantasy 16, another one I'm excited for, that might. Since we haven't really seen any trailer from Final Fantasy 16 since the debut trailer at that one PlayStation showcase. Haven't seen anything about it since. So let's see some more of that. That would be pretty cool. Do we get a Starfield trailer from Xbox and Bethesda? That is a possibility as well. Game is scheduled to launch November 11th of next year, 11/11/22. So if they were going to put out a trailer, now is a good time to start. Then you have the entire calendar year almost to hype that game up before it launches. I would have said that Riot would have a presence here, but they just announced a whole bunch of stuff surrounding Arcane. Like Project L had an update, and Teamfight Tactics had an update, a bunch of new games in collaboration with the Switch. Maybe we get another trailer on one of those, Convergence, or the new game that I can't remember the full name of. I don't know about that. So it'll be a great show. But predicting it is hard, because I always feel like I have an idea of what's going to happen, and then none of that pans out. So, for example, last year, I have a sheet here of last year's announcements and I put my guesses as to what I thought was going to happen. I got half of them right. I'm looking at this list right now. There are 10 guesses, and 5 of them happened. That's not great. That is not a great. It's not a great percentage to be only 50% right. Hoping to make that a little better this year, but not sure that that's going to happen. It's just hard to know who Jeff Keighley is talking to for these shows, because if you look at last year's slate as well, like I said, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, obviously a huge game. Everybody knows what that is. Perfect Dark right after that, and then Back for Blood right after that. That's a pretty intense 1, 2, 3 combo. But then you get Swedish Chef in Overcooked. You get Disco Elysium coming to the Switch. You get the Fortnite Master Chief. You get the next Among Us set. I don't know. And he hasn't teased a single game outside of Gollum that I mentioned earlier. Usually we're knee-deep in teases by now. It's an interesting show. First one coming back live, trying to make a huge impression. Could be a bunch of crazy announcements and a lot of fun. Could be more of the same. We'll never know. But I do know that, as I mentioned in the 6 and 60 Seconds, that an official co-stream of the Game Awards and a place where you can watch the Game Awards with a familiar face who may explain to you what's going on and what games are winning what awards is yours truly, JFan64. Twitch.tv/JFan64 is my channel, and I have been selected as an official co-streamer. If you search for Game Awards co-stream on Twitter, there are a bunch of people. I am by no means the only one, and I recognize that. But if you're not one of my friends who will be in attendance, who will make me be FOMOing out of my skin once those pictures hit social media, that if you're watching the stream at home, feel free to load up my co-stream, official co-stream at Twitch.tv/JFan64. Feel free to join in the chat, talk about the show. Always welcome to have new people listen or hang out with me in my streams. I don't stream often, but when I do enjoy it. So if you want to watch the Game Awards with me, starting at 7:30 on December the 9th, 7:30 Eastern Time, on December the 9th, feel free to load up Twitch.tv/JFan64 and join me as we watch the Game Awards 2021. Finally tonight, I'm going to end the show doing a segment that I feel that I must. And sometimes I like to have fun based on things happening in the real world. So like last winter, I was doing snow levels, and during for Halloween, I was doing stuff like that. Unfortunately, this list that I have prepared for the final segment this week is based on something somber, something sad, something that I do not enjoy having to report here. But so a final segment this evening is going to be my favorite video game dogs. Dogs that have appeared in various video games, and those that I still remember fondly from the games that they have come from. And I'm doing this because, unfortunately, 2 Fridays ago, I'm recording this on December the 2nd, so it is the December 3rd episode, number 75. On the 19th, the Friday before Thanksgiving, I unfortunately had to say goodbye. My family had to say goodbye to one of our dogs. Twix, the Caramel Chihuahua Dachshund mix. Unfortunately, a nasal tumor began to grow. After treatments, nothing was working, and eventually it made its way to his brain and affected his vision, and we had to say goodbye at the local vet on November the 19th. And I have not recorded since then. This is my first episode since Twix crossed the rainbow bridge, as they say. So I thought, in tribute to my beloved dog, a dog that we adopted 4 days after we were married, my wife and I, back in September of 2012, I thought I would run down the list of the goodest boys in video games. video games current, video games past. Can't do video games future because I haven't played them yet. But I'm just going to list a couple of fun dogs and maybe bring you some happy memories of those dogs in video games, just like I try to remember the happy memories of my little Twix. So the first one is one of the more dependable dogs in video games, I would say. You're able to trust him to protect you at all costs, which is even more impressive considering that he is your companion in a nuclear wasteland. That is Dogmeat from Fallout 4. I love this dog. I love palling around with the dog. I love the animations of the dog. I love the story about how they brought in an actual German Shepherd to do the mocap, and they thought they were really nervous about it. And they weren't sure it was going to work out, but then he ended up being like the studio mascot all of a sudden. Everything about Dogmeat is great. If you play Fallout 4, as soon as you find Dogmeat, and you find him early, I do not suspect that you will use another partner throughout the rest of the game unless the game forces you to. Dogmeat will find items, will attack enemies, will protect you, and he's just a good boy. He's a good boy, that Dogmeat, and that's why I like him. It was one of the best video game dogs out there. Another one is from a old school RPG that is being revamped, rebooted soon. That's actually another one that could be at the Game Awards. Should have mentioned that in the previous segment. And this is the dog in Fable 2. So if you haven't played Fable 2, you were given a dog companion who joins you throughout your quests. Similar to Dogmeat, he protects you, he fights with you, he finds items, something like that. But this is a dog with an emotional hook. And that is, at the end of the game, and this is spoilers for a game that came out in 2008, so apologies if I have spoiled a 13-year-old ending for you. But at the end of the game, the dog actually sacrifices itself to save you and allow you to finish the game and beat the final boss. It's a tough thing to watch for a companion that you've had for basically the entire game. But the game then gives you a choice. You're able to have any wish that you desire out of 3 choices. You can either wish for unimaginable wealth and just be wealthy for the rest of your character's days. You can choose to revive all of the characters that were killed, innocent characters that were killed throughout the game, be they bystanders, be they people who were killed by bad guys in cutscenes, what have you. All of the innocents are revived. Or number 3, the dog is revived. You'd be amazed how many people chose 3 over everything else. I'll never forget that choice. And that's why I think very fondly of the dog from Fable 2 whenever I think about that game in general. And I hope that the new Fable from Playground Games retains that level of charm. Even if it doesn't have to result in the dog dying, I would appreciate that. But I like that a lot. So number 3 on the list is the annoying dog from Undertale. And this is another very unique sort of dog. It's not a big deal, it's not a beautiful dog to look at. It's a cute little dog, but it's not a realistic dog. Undertale being pixel animations and such. Just this little white blob-looking dog with a goofy smile and his tongue hanging out, and his tail wagging and all this stuff. But what makes this dog great is all the ways that he's implemented into the game. I'm actually playing through it right now on the Switch. About maybe a quarter of the way through my first run, maybe 30%, something like that. And I remember finding this very difficult puzzle involving a piano. And I was, getting very frustrated by this puzzle. I couldn't complete it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I couldn't remember the notes. But when I finally did it, and I got to my reward, this dog basically absorbed it and ran away with it, and I never got it again. They call him the annoying dog for a reason. and that is definitely one of them. But I thought it's one of the best examples of how subversive that game is and how it challenges all the things you think you know about video game structure. That I think is the beauty of that entire game, and the annoying dog randomly showing up in your pockets and stealing one of your items that you worked really hard for is a perfect example of that. I love the annoying dog from Undertale. I will never say he's annoying, and I don't want you to either, because he's not. Number 4 on my list is a PlayStation icon, one of the best games on the original PlayStation back in the day, and that is Parappa the Rapper. You might not remember that Parappa was a dog, but he absolutely is. This little rhythm game starring this rapping dog in all these outlandish places with between the chicken that's trying to teach him how to cook, and the lizard who talks really slow, and the yak or whatever, moose, whatever it is, who's helping him drive the car, and then Chop Chop Master Onion, iconic piece of video game history. I love that game. I love jamming out. I love making my own beats, which it lets you do. After you beat a level for the first time, you can go in and customize a little bit, and like when you do it against Master Onion, the roof blows off and stuff like that. It's a really cool, really cool way to implement that rhythm-based tech. And I wish more games did stuff like that, or I wish Parappa the Rapper was able to get some sort of return. I think that there's definitely a place for that. It could be even morphed to be a little more kid-friendly. Not that it wasn't kid-friendly before, but there were some moments where you're just like, what is happening here? So if they wanted to reboot that, make it maybe a little kid-friendly and still have those little dummies, that would be pretty dang cool. Parappa the Rapper was an awesome game, and I think that everyone should play it, and he was a very cool dog. And then finally tonight, I basically just picked this guy because I know how most people feel about him. And I love getting silly reactions from people when they listen to my show. So, the final dog of this countdown, with some honorable mentions to follow, I promise, is of course the Duck Hunt dog. He's the most iconic dog ever in video games. He is the perfect troll dog. I mean, if growing up back in the day, all you'd want to do was punch him every time you didn't get any ducks when you were playing Duck Hunt. And then when you finally got them, he just showed them to you real quick and then hid them. We don't even know what happened to them. And then when you didn't get any, he laughed at you mercilessly with his little high-pitched laugh. And then he comes into Super Smash Bros. In the Wii U version, and we get a little bit of retribution. We can, beat him up a little bit. But he's still the same sarcastic dog with the big teeth and the grin and the muttly sounding laugh, at least in Super Smash Bros. It was a little more vocal in the original game. But yeah, that dog is a jerk. But I love him. I love Duck Hunt for him. I love that this dog is in that game because it just makes the game so much more interesting. It gives you a goal. It gives you a purpose. I am going to shut that dog up, and he's not going to laugh at me anymore. But then that never happens. You end up missing the shots. You miss the duck, and then he laughs at you again, and you're heartbroken, wondering, what have I ever done to deserve this? So, yes, the final dog on my video game dogs countdown is perhaps the biggest jerk in all of video game history. I am talking about you, Duck Hunt dog. I do want to mention a couple of honorable mentions that just had fallen off the list. If you have not played the excellent Fire Emblem style game War Groove, there is a doggo in that wearing a suit of armor. His name is Caesar, and he is great. Talked about how Dogmeat is a great companion in Fallout 4. Boomer from Far Cry 5, also a great companion as well. D-Dog from Metal Gear Solid 5. It starts as a puppy with an eye patch, turns into a big wolf with an eye patch, a wolf-looking thing that will beat the crap out of your opponents, as just like Dogmeat. Also, the hidden, I wanted to include this one in my list, I really did, but I could not justify a small cameo making the full list. And this is the Shiba Inu in Silent Hill 2. When you go in the one door and you find that there's a Shiba Inu controlling everything, it's a big joke ending. Very, very funny. But he is there. He's pressing the buttons. He's got the headset on. He's pulling the strings. And he's having a good time in one of the best Easter eggs in any video game of all time. And then finally, my last honorable mention here for the dog list is the Pomeranian from Tokyo Jungle. Who remembers Tokyo Jungle on the PlayStation 3? A game where you just played as animals and you tried to survive in some post-apocalyptic Tokyo or Japan or something, whatever the specification was. You were able to be things like lions and giraffes and all this other stuff, but you had to start with smaller animals, one of them being the Pomeranian. But then it turned out that the Pomeranian was, a badass. It was a difficult game because you're a small dog in a big world. Makes sense. But watching this little dog go and do what he's got to do and, get in the face of a zebra who could stamp his face off, it was just awesome. What a neat little game featuring animals from all over the animal kingdom, but including the toughest Pomeranian in all of video games. Man, I miss Tokyo Jungle. That would be one I would love a sort of sequel to or a follow-up to sometime in the near future. And with that, that is episode 75 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. As I said before, it is presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. My name is Jason Finelli. I am the radio station's esports and gaming insider. Wishing you a most fantastic weekend and a fantastic week right behind it. We will be back next week with more great video games and esports. We'll have our big final Game Awards preview show before the co-stream at twitch.tv/jfan64. I'm going to try and get that episode out before the awards happen, so that way you are completely caught up. Got some pretty cool interviews in the pipeline. Just have to get them, facilitated and worked out, but there are some good ones coming your way in the coming weeks. Very excited for those. And so thank you, as always, for listening to the show. If you're listening to these words right now, I am eternally grateful that you have made it to the end. Have a great weekend. Have a good week right behind it. And we will talk to you again next week for the Big Game Awards co-stream plus episode 76 of Cheesesteaks and Controllers. Good night and goodbye.